Fabiola, Cepeda, or Fabi, and I will be going over my research for my body of work, which is about documenting movement within the space of memory. It's an experimental approach, and I am currently working on finding a physical and conceptual vocabulary surrounding what I call atmospheric affection, which is how we conceive our relationships with one another in space. So for one of my first inspirations is Le Corbusier's The Modular, which is an anthropometric scale of proportion centering around establishing harmony between spaces in the human body. And the idea to take possession of spaces is the first gesture of living. The system is inspired, but does not exactly correspond to human measurements. It also draws from inspiration from the double unit, the Fibonacci numbers, and the golden ratio. Le Corbusier described it as a range of harmonious measurements to suit the human scale, universally acceptable to architecture and mechanical things. One of the first buildings that he used the modular to build is Unit de Habitation in Marseille, France. This was one of his first large-scale projects. It was a commission design for a multi-family residential housing project for the people of Marseille that were dislocated after the bombings on France in World War II. It was completed in 1952 and was one of the first new housing project series that focused on communal living for all the inhabitants to shop, play, live, and come together for a vertical garden city. Over J term, I was able to visit this building in Marseille, France. I'm really drawn to the modular because it is a scale built by humans for humans. I wanted to see the building in person and see how the modular was applied, and I also wanted to see if I felt different in a space that used human proportions to be built. One of the next people that helped inspire me is Theodore Hawken, or Ted. He was associated with the 1950s group of Chicago artists called the Monster Roster, and like many in the group, he was a World War II veteran. His work is intense and even startling with intimacy through the materials which he used to explore perception. This included the creation of his garden, and these paintings or drawings depict the garden capturing its rhythmic growth, blossoming, and even decay across the seasons. I was really drawn to his work because of how colorful it is and the palette and how he blends the colors together, and that they're not really able to get to brown and muggy, that they're able to stay the same. Also during J term, I went to the Art Institute and they were able to pull 17 of his drawings for me to look at up close. And I got to see how he was able to blend and use color pencils for most of his drawings. Next is my memories, which my work is about depicting memories in space. So I focus on two memories in this body of work, which is my sister and I dancing folklorico, and my abuela Luis, my tia Nora, and our relationship when I was younger. So in the top corner is me and my sister when we were younger, and then below is me in a traditional folklorico dress. When I was little, I was unable to dance with my sister because we were 2 years apart, so I couldn't partake in the same lessons as her. So I would usually be off to the side trying to follow along. And that was our relationship through dance, because once I was able to start dancing, we never got to do performances together since we were always in separate groups. And then for my abuelo and my tia Nora, or Xochitl, I only got to know her up until I was 8 years old, but she was the quote-unquote artist in our family. And when I was little and now, I was very interested in art, so she felt really connected to me, and she always made an effort to come see me, and my abuela would make an effort to take me to her senior living area so that way we could hang out together. Next for my methods and process. So inspired by the modular, I wanted to use my family members' HUDs to depict them on paper. and also for the measurements of the paper. The modular is flawed to where I can't really take my own height and put it inside the equation, so I used ratios to scale down all my family members. And before I even tear my paper, I think of my memories so that way I know who I want to depict in it, so I know the lengths of my paper, and then also I'm able to gather a general color scheme to what to dye my paper to. I used Kool-Aid to dye my paper, which I borrowed from my printmaking professor at Stefani.
The goat.
I really liked, like Kool-Aid was something that I drank when I was younger, and all these memories take place when I was younger. It also was able to fill the room with a really sweet smell that helped bring me back to that memory. And I also liked that it would dye my hands, because it felt like what I was doing was very permanent. And then the next part of my work is my pastel work, which when I close my eyes and envision my memory, I'm usually able to see colors, typically because of photo and video association from looking back at certain memories. And so I would depict those colors onto the page. And it's in the process. And then for my final works that you can see May 1st at 6 p.m.
Holy shit.
So, these two are both about my Fabiola. So the first one is us at the cafeteria, and she's trying to tell me about getting older, but I'm not paying attention. Through measurements, we're depicted in the lines, and then also in the green corner, that's supposed to be the jello. So, and the jello is using my measurements, so through this process, I kind of get to personify inanimate objects and assign them meaning. And also, as you can tell, in the lighter one, I want the viewer to pay attention and to look closely when they look at my work. So the closer you look, the more you will be awarded. It's just a moment for you to slow down. And then other two works of mine, the blue one is also my Fabiola. Again, personifying inanimate objects. So casket and garage depicted in the corner. And then the square is me and my sister, another one where you have to really get up close to look to see the lines. And now Katie's